She walked into the salon quietly, no entourage, no appointment, no designer bag in hand, just a calm smile, a loose ponytail, and a kind voice asking, "Do you have time for a walk-in today?" The receptionist barely looked up, one glance at her plain outfit and worn sandals, and the answer came sharp and automatic. "We're fully booked." No check of the schedule, no offer to wait, no warmth. "But I only need a wash and cut," she added politely. The woman behind the counter rolled her eyes. "As I said, booked. Maybe try something local." A stylist across the room laughed under her breath. Others glanced at the door, hoping she would just take the hint and leave. So she did, with quiet dignity and no complaint. What they didn't know? Her husband, the man currently finalizing a new investment portfolio downtown, didn't just fund beauty brands, he built them. And when he found out how his wife had been treated at that little salon on 8th Street, he wouldn't send an angry email. He'd send opportunity, a renovation team, and eventually a rebrand so powerful it would turn the very place that shut her out into a luxury spa chain carrying her name. Her name was Mahira Qureshi, gentle in tone, strong in silence, and the kind of woman who made you feel calm just by being in the room. At 36, she wasn't one for trends or show. She didn't wear high heels or heavy makeup. Her beauty was effortless, understated, the kind that didn't need validation to be real. She had been married to Faizan Qureshi for 7 years, long before his skincare company became a global name. Back when they lived in a modest apartment and used homemade remedies for everything from stress to skincare, Mahira had always supported him. Not from the front row of fashion events, but from behind the scenes. Quiet brainstorms, honest feedback, long nights spent testing natural ingredients and refining ideas until they felt just right. Together, they had built something rare, a business rooted in care. And yet, here she was, turned away from a basic salon, not for being rude, not for asking for too much, but because she didn't look like she belonged. Faizan had asked her to treat herself while he wrapped up meetings downtown. She had smiled and said, maybe just a quick cut, nothing fancy. She chose a salon nearby, a place with big mirrors and gold trim, and staff who cared more about labels than people. From the moment she walked in, the vibe was off. The receptionist didn't even look her in the eye. Stylists glanced at her hair, then at each other, and when she was told they were fully booked, she knew what that really meant. Mahira didn't argue, didn't complain. She simply thanked them and stepped back into the sunlight. And with a single text, Salon didn't have space. Back soon. She headed to a small cafe to wait for her husband. She didn't know it then, but that message would spark a transformation bigger than any haircut could offer. Because when Faizan read it, he wouldn't just make room. He'd change the rules entirely. Back at the salon, business went on, or so it seemed. Stylists laughed between appointments, brushing off the woman who had walked in and out with barely a sound. One of them, still scrolling through her phone, smirked. She really thought she could just walk in here looking like that? The receptionist chuckled. Some people don't understand where they are. None of them knew who she was. No one bothered to ask her name. To them, she was just another walk-in, someone not worth their time, their courtesy, or even a second glance. Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, Faizan Qureshi sat in a private boardroom with his investors. His phone lit up silently beside him. A message from Mahira. "No space at the salon. It's fine. We'll head to the cafe." He stared at the screen for a moment, then slowly put his pen down. He excused himself from the meeting, walked outside into the midday sun, and called her. They said what? They were full, she said gently. It's not a big deal. But Faizan knew that tone. He had heard it years ago, when she worked in a retail store and a customer refused to be helped by someone who didn't look corporate enough. When she was passed over at university awards because she wasn't the face of the program. And now, it had happened again, in broad daylight, at a place whose entire business was supposed to be about care. "It is a big deal," he said softly, "not because they knew who you are, but because they didn't bother to. He ended the call and texted his assistant. "Buy the building. Quietly. Schedule a full audit. I want the brand rights too." By the time Mahira finished her coffee, Faizan was sitting across from her, calm, composed, and quiet in his fury. "What are you thinking?" she asked, sensing the energy in his stillness. "I'm thinking," he replied, "that the people who are too good to serve you will one day work in a place that carries your name." She blinked. "Faizan, you didn't ask for anything," he continued, "and they still chose arrogance over empathy. It's not about punishment, it's about setting a standard." Back at the salon, the staff prepared for their next client, unaware that within 48 hours, the lease would change hands, the name above the door would come down, and the space they once used to judge others would become a place where judgment no longer lived. 2 weeks later, the salon on 8th Street was closed, indefinitely. The staff were notified by a single notice posted on the front door: renovation in progress. Under new ownership. No warning, no chance to pack up, just silence, followed by the hum of contractors and architects taking measurements inside. Across the street, locals watched in confusion as glossy gold letters were pried off the windows and paint samples were held up against the walls. No one had seen the buyer. No one had met the new owner. Rumors swirled. A foreign investor, a corporate expansion, maybe even a celebrity-backed wellness brand. None of them guessed the truth, that the woman they had laughed at for not looking the part was now designing what would become the first location of a national spa chain, one built around the very values they had ignored: kindness, simplicity, and inclusion. Inside the space, Mahira stood with a quiet smile, reviewing the new floor plan. Gone were the oversized mirrors and velvet couches meant to intimidate. In their place, natural light, soft, welcoming textures, a private tea room for women who wanted space to breathe, and a hairstylists trained not just in technique, but in emotional sensitivity. "It won't be just a salon," Mahira explained to the design team. "It'll be a place where women feel seen, no matter what they wear or who they are." She chose every scent, every tone, every service with care, remembering not the insult itself, but the feeling of being unseen in a space meant for self-care. Meanwhile, Faizan stayed in the background. He declined media interviews and made sure the business papers didn't connect the dots. This wasn't about publicity. It was about justice, quiet, graceful, and permanent. And when the grand opening finally came, it arrived without a ribbon-cutting ceremony or red carpet. Just a new name on the storefront: Mahira, clean, centered, elegant. Inside, the first guests were welcomed not with up-and-down glances or questions about status, but with warm greetings and genuine smiles. And the original receptionist. She passed by that week, stopped cold at the door, and stared at the transformation. The logo, the design, the new owner's photo on the wall. Her mouth fell open slightly. "That's her," she whispered, "the one we turned away." But now, no one turned her away, because she had turned the moment into a mission, and turned the salon into a sanctuary. The first weeks after the grand opening were nothing short of transformative. The women who entered the newly named Mahira Spa and Wellness Lounge didn't come for status. They came for peace. And they found it. No harsh lighting, no judging stares, no pretentious attitudes behind reception desks. Instead, they were offered herbal tea, guided breathing spaces, and stylists trained to listen first, then style. Each mirror had a simple quote etched at the top: "Beauty begins where comfort is honored." It became more than just a spa. It became a message, a gentle rebellion against places that had made people feel less than for showing up as themselves. The impact was immediate. A woman in a headscarf came in for a cut and left crying tears of gratitude, not shame. A new mother, still in sweats and sneakers, was welcomed with open arms and offered a seat without hesitation. A retired teacher, long ignored by trend-focused salons, was treated like royalty, simply because she mattered. And the staff, they weren't former salon elites. They were new hires, trained not only in technique but in dignity. Mahira personally met every one of them. "You're not here to make people beautiful. she told them. You're here to remind them they already are. Word spread fast. Soon, women from all walks of life came, not for discounts or luxury perks, but for the rare feeling of belonging. And that feeling was something no price tag could ever match. Mahira never posted a complaint. She never named the salon. She never asked for revenge, because she knew something far more powerful than exposure. She had a vision, and when they shut the door on her that day, she didn't knock again. She built her own, and opened it for everyone who had ever been made to feel small for not looking enough. Have you ever been turned away, dismissed, or overlooked, only to rise quietly and show your true worth? Share your story in the comments, because your strength might just be the reminder someone else needs today. If this story moved you, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back for more. Here, we tell the kind of stories that start quietly, but end in a way the world can't ignore. And remember, kindness isn't weakness, simplicity isn't insignificance, and silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes the most powerful response is not to fight your way in, but to create something of your own, so no one else ever feels like they don't belong. Until next time, stay gracious, stay grounded, and never let someone else decide your value.